So I have all of the structures in the game currently, just not the April Fool's ones, because obviously those are silly. I haven't even played the April Fool's update, so not including those. However, we do have a special guest, actually a few special guests. We have the Brick Pyramid, which I just decided to include just for fun, and the Dungeon, which is technically a feature and not a structure for some reason, as well as the Desert Well is also considered a feature and not a structure, but I just decided to include those anyway, just for fun. I guess we're starting with Buried Treasure, which for some reason is considered a structure. I would put it S tier because if you know how to, they're pretty easy to find, and you can also find them from shipwrecks, since you can get maps and stuff. They have diamonds, gold, iron. They can even have like a leather armor or an iron sword. So I think we're starting off pretty strong. I might end up moving that, but for now I think it's actually S tier because they're just so easy if you know how to get them. Even if you don't know how to get them, they're still pretty easy. Oh, they also have food. So yeah. Next we have the Igloo. They have the like basement. I don't think it really has much that's that useful, so I actually don't think these are really good structures at all. Like they can have a bed or a furnace, but honestly those are really easy to get, so I'm gonna put that in D tier. Actually no, I'm gonna put that in E tier because they're basically useless. So the Treasure Bastion. Honestly, I think it's the best of the bastions because it has lots of gold and you can also get diamond armor and netherite upgrades. So I actually think it's probably B tier, maybe A tier, because you do have to deal with piglins, but they're also super big and like easy to recognize, which is honestly a plus. So I think I'm going to put that in A tier. Next up is the Bridge Bastion, which is also not a bad bastion because there's a lot of gold that's really easy to get. So I would put that in... I'll put that in B tier because it doesn't have the same loot, but it's still pretty recognizable and it's easy to get this gold without even having to really risk yourself with the piglins. Next is Housing. Honestly, I will put this in C tier. It's not really as good as the other ones, not as much gold, like the chests and stuff are spread out more. I think that's fair for that. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with C tier. And finally is the Stables Bastion, which I just think is the worst because it has a chance to not have any gold at all, which is really dumb. And also the bottom part is even more of a maze than the Housing Bastion. And it naturally spawns hoglins in this part where like any gold or chests would be. So I think I'm going to put that in D tier. Bridge also does have hoglins, which you have to watch out for, but I would say they're much easier to deal with. Maybe this is a bit weird, but I'm sort of ranking the bastions as if this was just a bastion tier list, so maybe I'll have to move them, because relative to other structures, they're probably a lot better. And here we have the Brick Pyramid, which I don't even know why I included, but put it in E tier, because it's pointless. Another type of pyramid is the Desert Temple, which... oh, I don't know where to put that because it can have good loot, but at the same time, it can be kind of just annoying with mobs if there's any mobs in it. I think I might put that in A tier because it's good for early game loot. If you know how to like use the TNT, you can get blocks. You can also, yeah, you can get food and like iron and gold. There are other materials like you can bones and string stuff. So I think that's A tier, honestly. The other desert structure, well, technically a feature, is the Desert Well. I mean, that's just F tier. Like, there is no discussion about that. This is just F tier right off the bat. It's pointless. It serves no purpose. And you might be asking, why did I even include this? That's a good question. I don't know why. I just thought it kind of... it's a structure. You know, like, if we're including Buried Treasure, which is one single block, I feel like we could include a Desert Well, even if it's an F tier, but we kind of got to fill up F tier, honestly, so. And moving to the end, we have the End City, which, honestly, I'll put that... I'm tempted to put it in B tier, just because it's difficult to get to and also to, like, actually navigate because of shulkers and stuff, but man, once you do, I think it actually might be A tier, because the loot in there is so good. You can also get shulker boxes and elytras, which are literally one of the best items in the game, meta for movement, and they're just so powerful. I think that's A tier if you get it with a ship. If it doesn't have a ship, then it's not as good. And the Jungle Pyramid, I think maybe B tier? I can't even think of what they actually generate. Okay, so I just checked the wiki and yeah, they have diamond, gold. They can have like horse armors and rotten flesh and stuff like that. But other than that, they actually don't have much going for them. I'm now rethinking my Bastion rankings because I don't feel like it's better than the other one. Like, okay, I think I'm gonna put housing mid B tier and then maybe jungle temple low B tier because they're easy. Like, if you find one, you can just find the chest. You don't have to do anything for it. Like, you can just mine to it. The loot is easy to get to, but it doesn't have a ton going for it in terms of loot. I'm not sure actually. I'm not sure about that. It's definitely worse than the bastions, or the stables is still not a very good bastion. Maybe we'll move that to C tier. Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's good for now. Maybe I'll move it down to C tier. But they're so rare too, where it's like you don't even find them that often. So it's like how good are they actually if you don't even find them that much? Because by the time you actually find one, you might not even need anything that it has. Yeah, I actually I'm gonna put that in low C tier, I think. Okay, the mine shaft, high B tier. Do we leave it there? Like, the thing is, they're not that dangerous. The loot is pretty good from the minecart chests. They have diamonds and name tags, so I feel like the loot's pretty good. Maybe it's like low B tier, but they're also early game structures, which if you find them can be pretty useful. I don't know. I think I'm gonna put it low B tier, or maybe even C tier. Maybe they're worse than bastions actually. I actually think I'm gonna put it in C tier. I don't know. Maybe I'm being too harsh on like the bastions and stuff. I feel like I'm being too harsh on them. Putting them in C tier kind of feels like that's not okay. I'll put the stables in low B tier, and I'll put the mine chef as even lower B tier. How about that? I think the treasure is a better bastion than the other ones in terms of loot. I'm happy with that. Okay, speaking of bastions, the Nether Fortress. I don't know what to think of this because it can have some decent loot. They can have diamonds and gold and obsidian in the chests. The chests aren't that easy to find all the time. And also, you need to be prepared if you're going into a fortress because there's wither skeletons, there's blazes, so you need fire res. But since you do need them for blaze rods and stuff, I think they have to go somewhere around here. Is it better than some of the bastions maybe? Or what about low A tier? Or high B tier? How about high B tier? I think that's actually a good spot for that. Yeah. Another nether structure. It feels weird calling this a structure and that it's not a feature like some of the other ones, but this is the fossils. Wait, aren't these in the overworld too? Okay, so I just checked and for some reason the overworld fossils are features instead of structures. I don't know why, since like they're the exact same. So I guess I'll just include the overworld fossil as well. But first the nether fossil. I think this actually might be low B tier because they're actually really useful for bone meal, which is honestly a pretty useful item for farms and stuff. So if you're making farms, fossils are actually pretty good, but they're kind of pointless otherwise. The thing about jungle temples is that the loot you get, you can basically always use, but fossils, they're only specifically if you want bone blocks or bone meal. Like then they're really useful and they're really good because they're really easy to get. So maybe that's a low C tier just for the fact that they can be really useful, but otherwise they're not at all. So far D tier is looking pretty lonely. I thought maybe this was gonna go in there, but I guess not. So yeah, then there's just the overworld fossil, I guess. This is the skull variant. And actually, I think this will go in D tier because they're just nether fossils, but harder to find. I think they only generate in like a few different biomes. Yeah, they only spawn in desert, swamp, and mangrove swamp biomes. So they're actually not very easy to find. So I think that's actually D tier. Unless we actually want to put that in E because of the igloos. Like igloos are basically pointless. Like I don't think igloos really have a purpose. So I actually just looked at the loot table of igloos and they can actually have golden apples, even like stone axes, emeralds. So they actually can have some stuff. So I think I'm actually going to put that in low C tier because they're still probably worse than the nether fossils, but I feel like I never even see these fossils. Yeah, I don't know. But I think the igloos only spawn a chest if they have the basement. which doesn't spawn all that often. I'm not sure how much, but maybe these do actually go, maybe they're both D tier. I might put normal fossils at like E tier. Ocean Monument. They have some upsides and downsides. They also, or they have gold, but they also have the Elder Guardian, which really sucks. So I think I'm actually gonna put that in low B tier. So this is the last nether themed structure. I've been doing these really out of order. This might be another A tier. We might have another A tier because they have chests, which can have flint and steel, iron, gold. They can have like golden carrots, which is really good. They can have axes, shovels, hoes, looting 3 swords. But the structure itself also spawns with 2 gold blocks. Oh, there's also obby in the chest. Very rarely the portals can actually be completable, which is honestly crazy. These are actually pretty good structures, especially for early game. Like if you get one of these early game and it has good loot, I'm not sure if it's a low A tier because it's mostly for early game, but so just the loot it has is so good. Like it kind of includes like all of these structures in S and A tier actually. So I think I'm putting that at actually high A tier. Next is the Pillager Outpost. I right away think this is going B tier because it has some loot, but usually it's not very good and honestly not really worth fighting pillagers for. Yeah, I think I'm gonna drop that right in B tier. I think above the monument. Wait, maybe now that's making me rethink the jungle temple. What if I put these in C actually? Yeah. Yeah, these aren't B tier. Like these aren't as good as bastions. Like what am I saying? Maybe this even goes higher. But it also doesn't really have that much loot, so, and kind of the opposite of the pillagers actually, the villagers. This might be another A tier structure. Blacksmiths can have really good loot, but they also have food, and there's the iron golem, which guarantees you at least 3 iron. There's also a house that can generate buckets, so if you want a bucket, you can get a bucket just from one of the house chests, and they usually have animals, and also villager trading. Yeah, this is definitely an A tier structure. Just where does it go? I kind of want to say above the desert temple, just like middle A tier. Maybe it's high 8. It might be. Honestly, it can have more stuff than even a ruined portal. You can get a lot more obsidian than what a ruined portal gives you. You can also, yeah, you can get tools, you can get armor from villages. So they're kind of like a bastion and a ruined portal combined in the overworld, but like they also have lots of food. They're actually really good structure. This might be A tier or S tier because it can have even more. You can get diamonds here. Yeah, no, this is an S tier. Why am I even debating this? This is clearly an S tier structure, probably the best structure in the game. Even in the late game, you might visit a village because of the villagers. But you can also do raids. You can do raids. I forgot about raids. There's so much that this offers. I have to put buried treasures down here. Like, I just don't even know if they compare. No, I think I'm going to leave buried treasure in S tier because it still has really good stuff. But actually another really good structure is the shipwreck. Now this is interesting because it can have a lot of iron. It can have food, but usually not very much. And also it can have a map to buried treasure. So it's somewhat close to the buried treasure, but I don't know if it's S tier. Let's do the witch hut. Kind of while we're on this topic of villagers and stuff. I think this is going in F tier. No, E tier. I think that's high E tier because it can have like a cauldron, but also has a witch. So I think that's high E tier. Actually, no, wait. If we're seriously ranking the brick pyramid, I mean, you can get lots of bricks. It might actually be F tier because it's basically pointless. I think it just has a cauldron and a crafting table. This might actually be F tier. It's so pointless. But then I'm not sure if brick pyramid should honestly go in F tier. I don't know. I just feel like it just has more potential. That's really dumb. I don't know why I'm saying. Okay, Woodland Mansion. While we are still on the topic of villagers and evil villagers, I should have known that with the Pillager Outpost. I think I'm going to put this low B tier because it can have crazy loot. Like, you can get totems of undying, which are one of just the best items in the game. I mean, it literally lets you live for a second time and gives you so many buffs. But there's also diamond blocks. What else? The other bookshelves. Like, they can be really dangerous just because normal mobs spawning, but also the specialized mobs that spawn in them. But just the loot is so crazy. Maybe mid B tier. because the loot and the danger are honestly, I think they're pretty balanced. Because you could easily die multiple times in one of these trying to get a totem of undying. But if you get a totem of undying, that's really, really good. So in a way, I feel like this should be higher, but just the danger factor alone, I think just brings it down. So I think mid B tier, that's where that goes. Man, I'm really doing these out of order. I should have done this with like the shipwreck. Let's do the underwater ruins, I think these are called. I think I'm just going to put them in C tier. They can have chests, but I don't think they're really that good. Okay, so they actually can have some decent loot, like enchanted books or golden apples, buried treasure maps even. So the loot actually isn't bad, and given there's usually just some drowns, I think they're better than they might seem. I just feel like they're always not good, but apparently they can have some decent loot. Let's finish off with a bunch of underground structures. And I guess I should have waited for the mine shaft. I am doing this so out of order. The stronghold. Thing is, like, should I be ranking this just because you need it? It's required, so therefore it's A tier. But the structure itself isn't all that good. Like, there's a library, you know, they're difficult to get to, they're difficult to navigate. There can be lots of mobs in these, but they can have like enchanted books, and bookshelves are useful. They can actually have ender pearls and even like a little bit of food, iron armor. So I might put that above the mine shaft. Maybe a bit more out of necessity. No, but I think the loot is actually better. I don't know if I should put it above the fortress though.
A few moments later.
I'm gonna put it above the fortress. Next up is the trail ruins. I think I'm gonna put this in C tier, low C tier, because I'm not sure about the loot. I don't think it's amazing. Maybe you can get diamonds. Okay, because there is like the archaeology with like you can brush the sand, the suspicious sand and the suspicious gravel. I don't think they have that good of loot, and also you kind of have to excavate a lot. I just don't think they're used very much. Honestly, I think they have less use than a fossil or these other things in C tier, but I think the loot might be better and more consistent than the igloo. I think low C tier. Next underground, the next underground structure is the ancient city. Another tricky one because it has like the hardest boss in the game, but the loot can be really, really good. You know, you can get enchanted books, diamond armor, and tools and stuff. So I think it's probably up in B tier somewhere, maybe around the wood. It's probably similar to the Woodland Mansion, because if you play it right, you actually don't really have to deal with the warden. But I think actually the loot compared to the Woodland Mansion and the difficulty, I think it's slightly below. But just the loot that this has is still really good, especially compared to these other structures in B tier. No, I'm gonna leave it there. I'm gonna leave it there. Okay, let's go to the dungeon next. I think this is right off the bat C tier. They're not that difficult, and the loot actually can be decent. I think this is high C tier. And let's finish with the newest structure, which is the trial chambers. Similar to the ancient city, I've never really actually done one of these in survival. I have a little bit, but not that much. But I do know they have really good loot. I mean, you get the mace, you can get diamonds, emeralds. Also, you can get a lot of stuff, enchanted books. There's also like the breeze. You can get breeze rods. It's actually a pretty neat structure. I would think it's actually maybe, I'm not sure if it's less difficult than the ancient city, because it can get pretty difficult. You can get basically fully armored mobs and like with swords and stuff attacking you. So I think you can cheese them if you play it right. You can do them pretty easily, unlike the ancient city. So I think I'm gonna put this above that, maybe even the Woodland Mansion, just because it has good loot and it's also difficult, but it's also kind of a cool structure. I almost might say it's actually a bit more difficult than the Woodland Mansion, but I'm not sure if the loot is actually better or not. I think Woodland Mansions might be slightly easier. So yeah, that's the whole tier list then. This was really out of order. I started recording before I realized I should do these in some kind of order. So kind of a random thing. I'll probably do more. There's lots of other things you can rank. It's kind of fun, something different. Let me know if you think any of these deserve to be where they are, or if you disagree with everything. I'm sure we can have a very civilized online discussion about this. But yeah, I hope this is enjoyable to watch and not just me rambling and not making sense. Bye.